Have you ever wanted to do something big? Be a part of something revolutionary? Keep listening. And by the end of the speech, I'll show you a way to change not only your world, but the world around you. Good afternoon. My name is Charlotte Fournier, and I will be presenting to you an informative speech on the costs and benefits of transitioning to electric vehicles for intra-city transportation. Originally in this speech, I was planning on addressing more than intercity transportation. I was planning on attempting a thorough explanation of the conversion of the United States to alternative fuels. But as my research progressed, I found that due to time constraints, it would be easier and less time-consuming to concentrate my focus on intercity transport. The points that I look to expand upon today will be: first, to discuss why the transition to alternative fuels is necessary. Second, the benefits of using them in a city environment. Third, the costs of the transition. And lastly, what we would need to change to accommodate this project on a national scale. First, why do we even need to talk about this subject at all? Let's start by talking for a moment or two about climate. A far cry from transportation, you may say, but the two are closer linked than you think. Climate has been shifting and changing for many years, and is at this point, it's a part of Earth's cycle. But more recently, humans have been affecting the climate more than anything natural ever has. Climate change, in general, the term, refers to long-term shifts in temperatures and weather patterns, as defined by the United Nations. Climate change on its own is natural. Large climate changes have occurred in Earth's history, but most of these climate changes are attributed to very small variations in Earth's orbit that change the amount of solar energy our planet receives. NASA has been collecting a lot of information on this over the past 100 years, but especially in the last 60, there has been increasing concern over the state of our climate. Since 1900, global temperature has increased 1 degree Celsius. While that sounds like a small number, it's really quite significant. Over half of this change has happened after 1970. Earth is now about 1.1 degrees Celsius warmer than it was in the late 1800s. The last decade, from 2011 to 2020, was the warmest on record, states the United Nations. After looking at this statement, we see at least one of the issues. But why, may you ask, is such a small number even significant? First, let's translate that from Celsius to Fahrenheit. That's 33.98 degrees in the last 150 years. The problem of cost to fix this is not insignificant. It will cost people money, time, and resources to create the changes we desperately need. But any problem ignored now is going to be larger and more expensive in the future, until it's too late to fix. And how does this relate to our topic at hand? Well, public transportation is responsible for 38% of energy-related emissions in the United States. This leads me to my second point. Using that information, why is this a practical investment for our city environment? First of all, let's look at the mapping of EV, which are electric vehicles, chargers across the United States of America. All of the green dots that you see on this piece of paper are an electric charging station. As you can see, they are vastly concentrated around large populations and mostly are in the large cities. That's why I decided to start with this topic, because for a 6 to 8 minute speech, it will be much easier to focus on the concentrated areas than it would be to be able to explain and figure out the solutions to a vast area that don't have these stations yet, mostly due to population. So, buses run pretty much all day in every city, bringing people to and from work, school, and the shops. If we can change these vehicles from contributing large amounts of emissions, we can not only reduce the amount of carbon that we produce, we can work towards cleaning up the air quality in our larger cities like New York City or LA. Making this easier for us, many large cities across the US have begun installing charging ports at gas stations. See, in the New York and Eastern Seaboard have plenty because they have the large cities towards the side, and we have LA and California down here. Making this easier for us, many large cities across the US have begun installing charging ports at not only gas stations, but bus stations and places around where they charge their buses. Typical buses run around 150 miles a day and are in use up to 12 hours a day. On average, depending on the charger used, a typical bus takes 2 hours to charge and can run over 300 miles on one charge. If charged on its off hours, the bus will be able to take its normal route and complete it without any inefficiency. An added perk is that charging an EV, electric vehicle, costs about 3 times less than gasoline and much less than the cost of diesel as of March 15, 2023. Now we come to the costs. There are always going to be a cost or a downside to any change large scale that you try to make. One of these costs, and the main one, is making this transition on a large scale would involve replacing and disposing of all of the vehicles currently in service. Of course, this change would not be done all at once. It would be phased in over a period of time. One way to do this cheaper but still at some cost would be to remove the diesel engine and exhaust pipe, etc., and replace them with electric parts. A transformation like this would cost around $125,000 to $175,000 depending on the age of the vehicle and the amount of parts that need to be replaced. A new electric bus will cost between $350,000 and $400,000. The lifespan of an electric vehicle is the same as a gas or diesel powered one, and with both the price of gas and personal vehicles going up, more city dwellers are turning to the public transportation to be able to continue their lives. So finally, let's review what we've learned. The transition from the traditional fossil fuel powered public transportation can be made and is a necessary change if we do it correctly. It is not an issue of replacing an entire city's worth of transportation at one time. It's more of a matter of phasing in over time. Electric buses are as effective to use and cheaper to run than traditional public transportation. And doing this, we can not only help save the planet, but we can clear up our city's air. Transportation has always been necessary to society, and as does society, it evolves. But as all evolutions go, it takes trial and error. It will take years to reach a sustainable future. But as anything does, it will take less time if we start right now. Thank you.